And we're live. I am so excited that you guys are joining me today. Thank you so much. I am here with Matt Di Bara, and he is a fourth generation Mason. And oh my goodness, let me tell you, their company has been in business for over 100 years. Imagine all the years of all the wisdom drifting down into Matt, who's now the owner of DeBara Masonry. And I've got him on the show today, and he's going to share with us some reality tips on what we do with all the extra stuff that is left over after you finish a home renovation project. So today we're going to be talking about the stuff that Matt is really aware of, which is going to be all the extra pavers and paver stones. And if you have extra debris and how we clean up the dust and all the stuff that everybody asks. And we're like, oh my gosh, what do we do with all this stuff? And oddly enough, a lot of people don't do anything with it because they don't know what to do. So Matt is here today and I'm super excited. So please help me welcome Matt Di Bara. Hey, Matt.
Thank you so much for having me. This is going to be a blast. I'm really looking forward to it.
All right. So now let's say that we have a project and it's really exciting and we're in the middle of it. During the middle of the process, people are walking through, let's say they're having their pavers laid. They walk over the cement dust and then into their house and they track all that stuff through the house. Tell us about the process of cleaning it up as you go.
The main thing is to mitigate, right? Is protection. Like when we think of products, I always look at reduce. So reduce the waste or reduce the problem. And then it's reuse, recycle. I was very much into that when that first came out, leader in environmental and energy design, energy efficient design. But when you're looking at a site, it's always temp protect first because you can clean and do it well, but there's always a risk, especially when you're dealing with like cement dust. And if it gets into something porous, typically the same cleaners that we use to get rid of the cement dust eat away at the porous material if it's cement based. So like
Uh,
cement pavers and cement dust, like we've done jobs where somebody's poured concrete and walked through it and got concrete from their boots on the concrete pavers. And it's like, well, this is a problem because the cleaner to clean concrete is the same cleaner to eat away at the concrete and the pavers. So protection's huge. It's a big first step. And if you don't have that, cement dust in particular, if it's dry, the big thing is not using liquids. Depending on how well ventilated the area is, sometimes you can get away with like leaf blowing it, but I always like to use a shop vac with a good HEPA filter and a bag. So I double up. That's a neat trick if you're listening. So you don't have to worry about with the exhaust, because if you just use a bag or you just use a HEPA filter, sometimes the dust is so fine that it'll come out through the negative end. But if you use a bag and a HEPA filter, I found that you can usually get cement dust up. And the key there is keep it dry.
Now, why keep it dry?
Some people try and spray it and then they end up with this haze and it soaks into, like, I've seen it with tile, I've seen it with all sorts of different surfaces, and it activates the cement again. It basically rehardens it because cement is something that continues to harden even underwater. That's why we use it for like bridges and things like that cross waterways. It can harden underwater. We've used certain like roof coatings and things that they call it re-emulsify, where basically a new coating would reactivate it. Cement does that with water.
That's really fascinating. So we can clean up with a shop vac, with a HEPA filter and a bag. All right. Now, many people know what a regular vacuum looks like. What does a shop vac look like? And when you say a bag on the back, explain to us how that works.
There's all different types of brands, but if you go to like any of the main hardware stores like a Home Depot, you get a rigid shop vac. There's all different sizes, but a shop vac is usually, it can clean wet and dry material, which is nice because then you have the versatility. So it's a big round drum and it's got a kind of a hose nozzle to it. And there's all these different fixtures you can put on it. Whenever I'm dealing with something that's really fine dust, what'll happen is if you don't put a HEPA filter, which goes on the inside, you take the lid off and the HEPA filter slides on the inside. And then the bag acts as a filtering mechanism for the air as well, for the outlet.
So the air comes in through like a attachment or a hose,
Mhm.
and then the air goes out the back into a bag that connects on somehow to the back of the shop vac.
Well, actually, there's an inlet inside the drum, and that inlet you slide a bag onto,
Okay.
and then air is sucked through, and the HEPA filter goes on the basically the suction mechanism of the vacuum. So there's no external bag or whatnot. It's all kind of contained within the drum of the shop vac.
Okay. And I know this is going to be a unique question, but I am going to get asked this question. So I'm going to ask you instead. Can you vacuum up wet cement dust?
Yes, absolutely. Yep. It would not necessarily be dust at that point. It kind of turns into like a slurry. We see it with like drywall dust. We see it with drywall mud. We see it with any of your plasters or cement dust. When we spray those, they leave a haze or a residue. So we actually typically shop vac up the slurry. Otherwise, it'll leave a residue. Wherever there's low spots is where that dust collects. It's one of the more common calls that we used to get when we did this kind of cleaning.
All right. So then the next question is, at what point of the job do you stop and clean stuff up? Do you clean it up as you go, or do you wait till the job is done and then say, okay, we're done for the day, and then you clean it up? I don't want to be neurotic about like cleaning up every few minutes, but is that the best way to go?
It depends on the project. That's a great question. I haven't thought about this like formulaically how we do it. I know that we always clean up at the end of the day. And then depending on how dusty something is, like when we tent, when we build plastic tents, we're cleaning up usually like before every break. So team takes 10
Mhm.
o'clock break, we're cleaning up. Then we're doing it again at 12, then we're doing it again at 1. And usually that's because the dust will settle. So anytime we're dealing with like really dusty products, it could be sawdust if you're cutting a lot. It's nice to clean up right after the break or right before if you're not working because then the dust tends to settle.
And does that also prevent people then from tracking it all over the house and what have you?
Yeah, absolutely. You want to contain it because it gets on the shoes or the boots. And a lot of the non-slip OSHA footwear captures the dust. And I mean, you could track it for hundreds of feet.
We had a stairway in our home and they sanded down the banisters and they redid the stain on it. And it's a two-story open area and they taped off as much of it as they could with big sheets of plastic. But because the outside area was just like open and there was nothing to tape, there was nowhere to tape the plastic to. There was a lot of dust that got all over the house. And imagine me in a house with, dust this thick, but it just went everywhere. And then when the air would kick on, boom, it would go everywhere. And I cleaned out the air filter so many times. It was just like so much dust for months. Every time I turn around, there's like this much stuff on the baseboards. I'm like, no. Well, this has been so informative. Thank you so much. I've learned so much, and this is just really awesome. I'm going to leave links in the show notes as well where you can find Matt. And then if he has anything later on that he wants to add to this, or if he wants to drop back by and answer your questions, you guys will have a direct link to him there. Thanks again so much, Matt. I appreciate you guys joining in today. This was fun.
Thank you, Angela.